The following video is a training video for the use with enVision groundwater simulators. In this next section, we will show you how to fill both the groundwater simulator and the Rainmaker accessory, which is available separately, with water to prepare them for a demonstration. You would typically do this before you got in front of a group for a presentation. The first thing to check is to make sure that the valves or the plugs are in place, depending on what item you're talking about. With the simulator, it's important that the outside drain valve is in a closed position, which it is right here. On the Rainmaker, you will see rubber stoppers that go into a hole right here and a hole back here. Since this unit is not on top of the simulator at this time, those plugs must be in place. Otherwise, water will drain out of the simulator. With those plugs in place, this unit can operate as a sole unit by itself. The other thing to make sure is that in the case of this pump, it's turned off, and the aquarium pump on the top of the simulator is not plugged in. Otherwise, it will burn out. Other valves that you should look at are the inside valves. There's one here, one here. There's also an aquifer drain valve. When we're filling the model, we'll actually open that valve. This valve turner works nicely for that. You'll see a little water escape from a previous demonstration. We'll take a bucket, filling the model up to the water level sticker that you see on the You'll see that water has begun to enter into the front compartment. It's also entering through that valve inside. Note the water level marker. Note that on the Rainmaker, there's also a water level marker. This is often easier to do with a smaller container. First, we'll fill up the aquarium pump so it flows out. We'll plug that unit in, give it a few minutes to prime, and get flowing while we fill up the Rainmaker. Remember, you want to do this prior to going in front of a group. With the Rainmaker, we'll pour water into the back until it fills up to that water level. A little bit more there. And then we will place that pump into the back of the unit, making sure that it sits flat on the bottom because it's very shallow water there. You'll note a small switch that you can turn on. The water will then go up into the Rainmaker unit, and that unit is now operating. As these pumps get going, you want to make sure that you check that water level again to see if any additional water needs added. It's important with this aquarium pump to make sure that this pipe right here is sitting down into the unit to get the best suction. Make sure the dip tube is down into the water. And once it gets primed, it will actually discharge water out here onto a platform. There's a small notch here into the front compartment. Water will flow, recharge the model at this point, and as we'll show in the next section, it will then flow through the model and discharge out of this river valve. And this pump is just about ready now. And this is why it's a good idea to do this before you get in front of a group, because sometimes it takes a little longer than expected to prime that pump. Also note that there's a small plastic, as we're waiting, a small plastic piece here that covers a notch. During normal operations, this piece fits on here, covers that notch, and pushes up against the discharge point of the aquarium pump. The pump itself, and you can see it's just starting to prime. control the amount of recharge can simply be moved off of the platform for a drought condition, or fully onto the platform for essentially a flooding condition. Typically you'll operate it about half onto the platform, a quarter to a half, and the rest of it discharging into the back. Once that pump primes, you'll want to close the aquifer valve so that all discharge is coming out of this river valve into the back reservoir tank, being drawn up by the pump and recharging the model. Again, quickly check your water level markers. Those levels, they're good. In the Rainmaker, we should point out that this red clamp right here controls the amount of flow. Much like moving the pump here, this red clamp controls the amount of flow into the Rainmaker, so you control how much visually there is rain-wise. In the next section, we'll start injecting dye into the model, and we'll show how the Rainmaker can be used in various functions to operate with or without the simulator. Cleanup is a very important part of the model. As you can see here, as we've gone through using the Fair Pack and the general use of the model with the heavier and the lighter dyes, we've actually got a model that's pretty dirty at this point as far as dye. A few things I've done already. I've moved the pump so it's fully discharging onto the platform, thus providing maximum flow through the model. That's starting to rinse out what's inside the model. I've attached the drain tubing, make sure it's on the valve completely, draining it into a bucket. I can reach inside the model with the valve turner and open the aquifer drain valve. Make sure the other two valves are open. Things like the siphon bottle can simply be emptied into the bucket. You really won't be able to get all the dye out of this thin tubing. Some of it will drip out, get out as much as you can, but it's really almost impossible to flush that out. It won't hurt the unit any. That's not important. We can now set that aside. Over here, when we've got dye still in wells, we can use our high volume pump to suction some of that out. In the case of the underground storage and septic tank, you absolutely do not want to suction those out. You will draw sand into both those units and will clog them over time. Instead, use clean water in the wash bottle and flush that out into the aquifer. It may take a little bit to flush that out to a point where the water is fairly clear inside that unit. You can also suction out the other wells. Same way. Try and get all the contamination that's in the main body of the unit out. Continue to do that until this area is at a point where it's fairly clear. You're still going to see some dye because the material in the back reservoir tank is so, but you don't want these real concentrate areas. Work on that until those are clean. Use the valve turner or your hand to open up the drain valve. Unplug the pump. And the unit will start to drain out into this bucket. Make sure you have a 3-gallon larger bucket. Again, since the model holds that much, you don't want the bucket to overflow dye all over the place. It will drain slowly. You can continue to use the wash bottle to squirt the dye out of the wells into the aquifer compartment. Where most of the dye has flushed out, you can use a bucket or a small container. Usually easier with a small container to pour water onto the grassy surface. Sometimes it helps to close these two valves. And pour from behind. You will get water all over the place. Fill the model up to a point, because now you're forcing all the water out through that aquifer drain valve in the bottom corner there. And again, you can use the wash bottle to flush out these wells, force the dye out of the model. It's a fairly easy model to clean. As you can see already, it's already starting to flush out. We continue to do that for a few minutes, continue to drain the model out the side, and you'll find that the unit cleans up pretty nicely. After that's complete, of course you want to take your paper towel and dry out all inside the back aquifer compartment, not the aquifer, the reservoir compartment. Clean out all the units like this that still have dye in them. Suction and discharge clean water out of the syringe system. Rinse everything out, and then of course pack the model back up for storage.